We are live. This is the market update. XRP Zcash is bringing the XRP army back. Crypto content consumption spiking. Crypto market spiking. Altcoins up only. Why? Well, we'll tell you. Most likely, you have crypto hedge funds kicking sand in people's face as they run back towards their car, as we have detailed, probably pushing the buy button all the way to the car and all the way home, likely in derivatives and perpetuals. When is this going to stop? Why does it have to stop? Is this a bear market reversal? Or was there ever a bear market to begin with? Naturally, you've been listening to our opinion about this for multiple days. In the event that you haven't, we will be we'll be providing you with some TA, both PowerPoint and Alpha Intelligence, particularly on XRP and the XRP ETF. I know, don't laugh. The XRP ETF. Why do we care about the XRP ETF? Simple. Hedge funds, mutual funds, macro trading funds have to buy what's moving. It happens in AI stocks. It happened in semis. And it could happen in crypto, because you're asking yourself, why is XRP moving the way that it is? Is there news? No. Could an announcement be coming? Maybe. That would sure be lovely. Or could it be people are going to be coming into this really illiquid ETF, combined with the possibility of news, and the ETF wags the cryptocurrency. This little ETF, the tail wags the dog. And I suspect that is exactly what's going on in XRP, especially if there's no news coming out. That, and we'll discuss the chart as we did yesterday. Basically, the chart went from completely broken to completely unbroken. Everyone gave up, which is how the chart got broken to begin with. And then all of a sudden, everybody comes FOMOing back in. When it's at $1.50, it's up 50%, which is a mind-blowing number. And if I can leak what we're going to talk about later, the thing that's unbelievable is that about XRP is that XRP went from the chart, I'm saying, completely broken, to now it's one of the few cryptocurrencies that actually reading at a chart level that there's a new uptrend. XRP, for whatever you think about XRP is, in a way, the chart is confirming that the whole thing has turned because of the degree that it's rallied after being in such a devastating slump or range. And that is mind-boggling. That and XRP is clearly back on YouTube. I mean, I put a short video about XRP, about literally just what I said previously about the chart. Normally, a video on YouTube would take a day to get 1,200 views, maybe 6 hours if it was hot. This XRP video went to 2,000 views in 5 hours, less than that. So the XRP army is back. Zcash is going completely ballistic on institutional demand. Zcash is very simple. No one owns it. The TA on Zcash is now mind-boggling. We are pulling out Fibonacci extension work to figure out where this is going in terms of new all-time highs. I mean, normally, Fibonacci extension work takes at least 2 months before everything starts making new all-time highs. I mean, if Zcash is a leading indicator of Bitcoin, can you imagine what Zcash at 2,000 would mean for Bitcoin? Yeah, you're right. I just said that. Zcash at 2,000. Like if Zcash went to 1,000, Zcash might go to 2,000. Don't believe me? You better stay tuned for the charts. You better stay tuned for the Alpha Intelligence read on XRP. And then we're just going to sit here and do live TA and try to take as many requests as possible. So to state the obvious, Alpha Intelligence has been extremely helpful in getting in on the bottom of these moves. It gave you the bottom in the Treasury market, which gave you the bottom in the crypto market. So you definitely want to check that out down below. And the guy that runs this place, Drew, had an excellent call on our stream on Zcash. And I got to give credit where credit is due. I really believe this type of an indicator, especially when you may have to buy shallow dips until further notice, is worth it. I'm going to show you the XRP chart, and I think that's going to be game, set, match. Very simple. I'm going to show you the chart, and it's very simple how this is going to help you. Patreon is going to be filled with technical analysis reports and coin picks. Coin picks, coin picks, coin picks. We're done reviewing coin picks with some new ETH layer 2s in the YouTube member area. For God's sakes, get back in there. Get back in there. And Patreon has already got coin picks with new TA targets. We will discuss new targets today on the stream because I'm such a nice guy. I'm such a nice guy. Don't forget, you get a discount on Alpha Intelligence by getting it through this channel. Help yourself and help the channel at the same time. Okay. Now, let's review what's going on here in case it's not clear. The Treasury came out and said, we have a debt problem. That's what happened. We, as in the United States, have a debt problem. Government, private sector, AI hyperscalers, issuing debt, issuing debt, issuing debt, Uncle Sugar, issuing debt, issuing debt. And it's not going to stop. And they came in and said, we are not going to allow this to become the fall of Rome and a disaster. And then as the media has been doing Bessent's job for him, that's the Treasury Secretary who unleashed and said the quiet part out loud, along with the subtle message that we will not allow this to get out of control. The media has started to do his job for him, and the cryptocurrency market is rocking and rolling, helping him out. Because everyone's like, why is crypto going up? Oh, it's that thing that Bessent said. What did Bessent say? Oh, does that mean QE? Yup. Or does that mean a QE easing mentality after we've had to deal with 10 months of this ninny rate hike nonsense, which sent the bond market into the abyss, which reversed with Alpha Intelligence? There has been a very good cross current between macro and TA. And the simple TA, even if it's a mechanized indicator, has worked really well. And then wait until you see how simple TA is doing in Zcash. You are going to have to hang on to see that because it's mind-boggling. Simple, straightforward stuff is working, and that is the sign of a bull market. A real move when the simple stuff starts to work. Now, speaking of the media doing the Fed's job, the Fed now owns over 50% of all bonds maturing between 10 and 15 years from now. So that means the Fed was buying so many bonds and pushing so much money into the market for so long that, you know, most of the long-term bonds that Uncle Sugar has issued over the last 15 years were bought by the Fed. Parentheses, they will continue to do so. They will defend the long end. They will not allow long-term bonds to fall apart, period. Period. And this, of course, is having a profound impact on the cryptocurrency market. The cryptocurrency market. Because different forms of money, different rails for the internet, and a world underinvested in this ecosystem is now being brought to light. And every single dip is being bought. And as I pull up the chart, if you're on TikTok and you can hear me, put a message in the chat. Supposedly there's this like cloud outage going on, and it may be affecting just Austin. I don't know. But we had a devil of a time trying to get on the web today. I'm trying to get on the live stream today. So if you can hear us, just let us know. Not engagement farming. Not. Okay. So this is easy, right? This is easy. Alpha Intelligence, Ethereum, 1 hour chart. Right. We went all into the fact that there was no resistance in all of these cryptocurrencies yesterday using this methodology. And today it's very simple, right? The sell signals are here. They do a blow off top. It comes back down. The first dip, you get an Alpha Intelligence signal with the 1 hour RSI oversold. Volume starts to come in. Boom, it goes up. They wick it down to try to get everyone's stops, and it starts grinding back up towards this area where, you know, there were a lot of sellers. And if you need to know where to buy the dips, then you're looking for blue triangles, preferably blue triangles inside big volume zones. Note that ETH, the redheaded stepchild of all cryptocurrencies, and personally, I think is the absolute future of the high velocity world. Even better than Solana. Little edgy opinion there. XRP. So you had the Alpha Intelligence buy signal on the daily chart on the 10th of August. You know that already. Where is this? We're going to get to the 1 hour chart. Okay. So in XRP, on the 1 hour chart, you didn't necessarily get the triangle, but there's a huge amount of volume that came in before it spiked. And notice every time XRP went down there, there were buyers. So you have bag holders selling up here, you know, somebody who suffered and is like, wow, I can get out even. Boom, they sell. And then it comes back down and there are buyers down here. There are buyers, and that most likely, ladies and gentlemen, is crypto hedge funds. It's as simple as that. It's crypto hedge funds. And if we're really having fun, because I think this was the bottoming signal that this is the one I just mentioned. This wasn't in XRP, by the way. This was, you ready for this? This was in the XRP ETF. So can you imagine that the guys who trade stocks were more in the know about what Besant was going to say than they were in crypto? Imagine that. Like the XRP ETF, I think, had the signal before XRP itself. No, that's not true. The XRP signals were down here. Okay. My apologies. So they were in the cryptocurrency massively, and they were over here in the ETF. And I submit to you a very simple idea. These ETF characters are coming in on Monday, and they're coming in huge, which is why you're having a Sunday afternoon parabolic, which is why it's crazy banana pants, because everybody knows that these characters are going to be buying at the market. They're not going to care. This is now a price insensitive move. You know, I think they call it inelasticity of price, meaning nobody cares what they pay. They just want to get in. And this is what happens when you have everyone sitting around telling you that there's something wrong with crypto when there was never anything wrong with crypto. If there's something wrong with crypto, it's that the whole world is underinvested. Now, if you want to see the one chart market update, this is a joke that we have on the show for anybody who's new, is that frequently it comes down to one chart. Okay? One chart. And that chart right now is the diamond formation in Zcash. And I will submit to you that this thing was absolutely just annoying. Annoying to no end. But it is a technical analysis clinic in diamonds and triangles. So for everybody on TikTok, we're going to see this formation, which is a diamond, which can be absurdly powerful. Absurdly powerful. Okay. Now, what happened with this absurdly powerful formation is that you broke down out of the bottom. And this happens all the time. This happens with every indicator, right? They'll find the point, they'll run the stops, and then they'll turn around and take it up. Doesn't matter what system you're using. So what do? They take it down, they run the stops, they bring it back to the line. And you're like, and I sat there and looked at this. I go, well, is that a return move so that it's going to fail and go down? And of course, everyone thought that. And then what happens? It gets to the apex. It gets to the apex of the diamond, which any move that occurs on the apex of any triangle creates a volcanic move. So you have a volcanic formation at a volcanic point with a volcanic move. And then that's it. It just goes crazy banana pants because you have a catalyst on this. Absolutely no sign of any alpha intelligence top. The next target on this, mind-bogglingly, is the width of the diamond from the point of the breakout, which is going to bring you possibly above a Fibonacci extension number. So the Fibonacci extension number that I'm looking at is 1,000. No, the Fibonacci extension number is 990. If it gets to the diamond target, it's 1,000. If it gets to 1,000, my next target is 1,400. In other words, what's going to stop this? 804 is a big level, and I think that they retested that today. So what does that mean? Let me just try to zoom this out so you can see the fib extension number. In other words, it went up here. It's very subtle. Let me get this off and get this in position for TikTok. So you can tell that I'm not the only one drawing this. It rushes up to 806 and it comes off. That's this candle. Then it goes down below 806 and then they bring it back. And when they bring it back above 806, boom, you wind up at 880. So they know exactly where this level is. They know exactly what it means at 990. And of course, 1,000 will be a monstrous psychological level. You haven't heard one word from guys like Arthur Hayes that they're back in. I'm sure they're getting back in now. But these guys, they all got out. These characters, these hedge funds. I mean, he was writing about the debt problem with hyperscalers and the Treasury. Like, he wrote a blog that said this is eventually going to be an issue. And then Bessett comes out and says, boom, it's happening now. And I don't mind telling you, you think you have to mix these things together. I mean, if you're a day trader, you're a day trader. Alpha intelligence, I think, speaks for itself. If you're not a day trader, alpha intelligence speaks for itself because you had warning sign after warning sign that news was coming. And then, the chart tells you the news before the fact. So yes, I'm shilling it for a reason, because you're going to need this to follow all this crazy stuff that's going to continue to happen. Because if you think for 1 second that this stops by itself, this doesn't stop at all. At all. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to show it to you. It's a premium article. I don't need to read the article. I know what the headline is. So this is a guy from Goldman who says quasi QE, which is what Bessent talked about. It's like psychological QE. In other words, Mario Draghi said when there was a European debt crisis in 2010, he came out and said, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. They bought so many bonds, they drove interest rates in negative. I'm not even going to explain to you how that can happen. But literally, they bought the entire European government bond market. They bought all of it and to push money into the system. Whatever it takes. Now, they haven't said that. They can't really say that with inflation wherever it is. Success is expected. Failure is unthinkable. I mean, this is why crypto is up. And this is why crypto isn't stopping. Now, I'm not going to be an idiot and say it's going to go up forever. Nothing goes up forever. Okay. There are going to be these flushes and profit-taking pauses. But as we discussed yesterday, what is a dip? Like, what did I go to on XRP this morning? What did I go to on Ethereum? The 1 hour chart. Why? Because if I may, when this thing stops going up, you have 36 hours to get involved. You have 36 hours to get involved. And what's really interesting is that Solana may give you 36 hours. Because I'm super interested in this. Okay, so Solana is its own beast. Solana is great for the validators. I don't know if it's great for the holders. I know everyone wants Solana to go to 1,000. I'll tell you what I think right here. Okay. So to state the obvious, there's no real volume-based resistance in Solana on the daily chart until it gets much higher. That's good. That's good news. And there's even more good news, which I can't wait to see. So Solana gloriously has managed to get itself above the top of the previous fourth wave. Glorious. Now officially making it an uptrend, or maybe you should say the downtrend is broken. However, as you saw, there was an alpha intelligence sell signal on that big wick up the other day. So perhaps you get some time in Solana. Perhaps you get a correction in Solana, or you get a signal that Solana may continue to underperform, and that there are other cryptos like XRP that are underappreciated. I still think ETH is underappreciated, and I'm not hating on Solana. I'm just saying you may have time to get involved if it underperforms before it turns around and goes up, period. And then what you want to do is, even though you have that longer term signal, wait 48 hours, 36 hours, and then go to your tactical charts and start looking for a buy signal, right? So you're going to get a pause, right? So there's Solana on a tactical chart. Here's a big wick down right into a volume zone. So, you know, you have conflicting signals, but this big block up here, that's the validators. That's what I think it is. You know, guys make money from Solana and they sell. So, you know, Solana on support, buy. And if Solana gets through this, then you know it's on, which is conveniently, that's at 100. So follow what I'm saying here. If you get a dip, you got 36 hours. Solana had big people come in and sell, creating an alpha intelligence sell signal. So that's a gauntlet, right? That's the new line in the sand. That's a new wall. Now, if demand comes in and breaks Solana out, you better watch out, because that means new demand is overwhelming validator selling. So you would have, everybody's got to buy the Bitcoin ETF. That's now obvious, right? All these tech funds, all these characters. I've been going on and on and on about this for days, and it's going to wind up on CoinDesk. I think it's already on CoinDesk that, you know, they're arriving at the offices and that all these mutual funds are going to buy Bitcoin. That's almost boring at this point. Now, where Bitcoin is going on the upside is not boring, because I thought it was 83 in Patreon, and then it spiked up. And now I'm like, I'm going to have to come up with a new number. We're going to go through that. We're going to go through that in a second, because I think Patreon and our guys were on it, especially the altcoins, way before everybody else. If I may say, you know, at a point when morale in these groups, you know, is low. But that's obviously changing. Obviously. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at some PowerPoint. Okay. So the bottom was early. You know, the bottom in most of these coins was actually back in February at like 58K. You know, everyone's like, oh, the bottom is in. Yeah, the bottom's probably been in. The Treasury blinked. You had a massive short squeeze. Privacy went vertical, and everyone's coming back into the ETF in the bottom left-hand corner after everyone just got out of the ETF, which is an underreported theme. In other words, not only did they have to get out of NASDAQ and into the ETF, but everybody who was in the ETF has to get back into the ETF. Do you know how many people sold Bitcoin to go into semiconductors, only to have semiconductors like spike, fall into a range, and then have Bitcoin go parabolic? People are not, people are not putting this together. A yield ceiling is now priced. In other words, Fed, Treasury have just told you they're not tolerating higher interest rates. Okay. The bear in crypto was an AI side effect. In other words, everyone dumped crypto, assumed crypto was dead to go FOMO into AI. Now, again, the AI trade, the chip shortages, all the things that these guys are going to do, it's not that it's not happening. Of course it is. Of course it's going to grow earnings. Earnings are going to continue to break out. They can make tons of money without hiring people. Sad as it is, people are the most expensive thing that corporations need to have, and they don't need to have them. So earnings are going to continue to break out. Fine. But the AI world is also going to be on crypto, which is just a completely undiscussed story. I mean, they're just now coming around to the scarcity element of Bitcoin, and nobody has even brought up. We're so in the squeeze phase. We're so in the XRP short squeeze. We're so in the Bitcoin underinvested phase that they haven't even processed AI coming into crypto and what that really means for alts. They're just scrambling to get involved now. But, 5 days from now, they'll be like, gee, do we continue to buy this? Like, what is the rationale to continue to buy it after the squeeze? Which is why, again, I'm selling Alpha Intelligence as a way to just figure out how to get involved on dips. Because if you can buy a dip and make money, this is not going to stop. It's not going to stop until everyone is in, and the narrative is all over Coindesk, right? When everyone's positioned and the narrative is out there and everyone is in love with their positions, the market and the narrative, just like in chips, then it'll stop. Oh, we are so far away from that. So far away from that. By the way, Bitcoin retraced 62% of the whole up move by going down to 57. It was pretty simple. They said it was going to take 60 weeks. It actually took about 20, roughly. I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but, it didn't take them very long to go from the Binance hack to the 57K low. And the cause in 2018 was speculative unwind. The cause in 2022 was levered liquidation and fraud. The cause in 2026 was macro and rates. And if you fix macro and rates, you fix crypto. Everyone's telling me like, oh, shut up about macro. It doesn't matter. No, bro. It does matter. It matters a lot. A lot. Because macro was the problem, and now macro is the answer. Scott Bessent just got on Twitter, made one thing, and boom, it's off to the races. And nobody's going to know what it's really about until it happens. And get this, for ETH, this is what's funny, for ETH to like really turn it around and really be in a bull market, it has to get above 5,000. Now you can look at that and be like really discouraged and be like, wow, ETH has to get to 5,000. Bitcoin, in order to confirm a bull market, has to be above 97K on a weekly closing basis. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how far we've got to go based on some TA methodologies to confidently say, yes, the market has broken out. So everybody who's waiting for confirmation, you will wait until it goes to 97, and we will get long AF on every single tactical dip until then. We'll take profits at 97, and then we'll buy whatever big dip comes later. That's how we're going to do it. In the meantime, altcoins, as we went over, if you watch the last stream, we found two new layer twos. One we like in particular, plus we went over all the lists of everything that we already like based on what we think the AI future is that nobody is talking about because they're too busy trying to get out of their swimsuit and into their suit to get to the office to buy everything. Now, when you look back at TA levels or look forward, I think, Bitcoin's next stop is either 83 or 96, but the Katie bar, the door level in Bitcoin is probably like 80 and change. Right? I mean, this model that we've been using had 67 as a level. You took that out and exploded. So I'm just going to continue to run with this. The only thing it really didn't get right was noting that some charts were so broken that they looked like it was over, but it never thought that in Bitcoin. And I think if Bitcoin rejects 80, the bears might have a case just to calm down on this whole cowboy thing. In other words, I'm sure people who are negative are out there saying to themselves, well, they're going to squeeze everyone out for a period of days. It's going to go parabolic. Everyone's going to go nuts. And then something negative is going to happen. I understand everybody was looking for a black swan, but I don't think they're going to get it because even if this is a rumor, it appears to be more than a rumor that they figured out how to get traffic moving through the strait. So this looked like a total disaster. This is another ungodly, strange reversal, right? This looked like it was going to turn into the end of the world and $200 oil and $10 gas at the pump in the United States. It's a nightmare in Europe, but it really didn't materialize here. Okay, so this is the type of thing that we do in Patreon. I'm trying very hard to really get people to see the value of what we do across the board. Like, how do we use alpha intelligence? How do we use research? How do we use trading model? How do we just provide you with a holistic way to get involved and stay involved, right? And not get smoked and get chickened, not fall for the Chicken Little stuff, which was very, very, very extreme, right? It was scary. It was scary. In other words, this 4-year cycle crowd, Benjamin Cohen was pulling in 10,000 people a day. With this, it's going down until October. He said we were in the late stages of the bear market where everybody who is bullish becomes bearish. Somebody get that tweet out. I think the market went vertical 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. I don't want to be remembered for that. I don't. Okay, so here's the roadmap. 84 to 92. You got anywhere between 10 and 20% up from spot. ETH, probably September, October. The top end of the range is 3250. That's 35%. Zcash is 1200. That's where the computer model says it can go. That's in line with the fib extension work. XRP, you'll be delighted to know, they think it thinks it's 170 to 215. And it thinks Solana is going to continue to underperform between 100 and 132. Now, November, December is a totally different story. 4,000 ETH, 108 Bitcoin. Solana wakes up, goes to 180. January, you're going to start hearing investment banks start talking about 128. You're going to hear the $3. This thing says $3 XRP, 350. You're going to start seeing $5 and $10 XRP tomorrow. And I think if you start hearing, I don't know, I can't remember what the number is. Put the number in the chat. Was it XRP is going to like $589? I mean, when you start hearing that, then you have to be like, okay, maybe this is getting a little bit nuts. I don't think XRP up 5% on a Sunday is nuts at all. I just think it's people who gave up all getting back in. I think that could be retail. I mean, XRP really is the retail metric. So retail really just showed up, I think, in the last 48 hours. They just showed up. They're like, oh, wow. This is really happening. You know, I mean, Bitcoin price prediction, Ethereum price prediction, man, you know, it didn't even get 1,000 views on TikTok. Now you put something out there, it's like 2,000 views right away. And believe me, this does take more time. Don't think that they're all back today. You know, it's all going to happen. It's going to take a lot of time for people to come back in. And of course, we do want to be responsible analysts and discuss the risks to the view. Okay. The risk to the view is Bitcoin falls back below 70. It's not that far away. We don't want to see ETH below 1820. We don't want to see Zcash below 500. That, you know, that's going to take the ETF filing withdrawn to have that happen. We don't want to see XRP below $1.18. So, you know, when you have XRP moving like this, you know, you want it to move away from danger areas because, you know, you're going to have bag holders selling. You're going to have Ripple selling. I think one thing that should cheer you up on the XRP daily chart is right now, when you get bag holders selling and you see these sell signals, they're not working and volume is coming in, could be sellers, could also be buyers. And that volume, regardless of where it comes from, currently is acting as support in XRP, which I think is terrific, right? In other words, these wick ups, the hiccups, we got the wick ups. Actually, that's catchy, right? Currently, the cryptocurrency market has the wick ups, right? Wick back down. Everyone's like, oh, thank God I can get out of this thing. There's probably a lot of people, and this is not a ridiculous thing. There's probably a lot of people who are like, oh, wow, you know, I can get out of some of this stuff and I can buy a dip if I have to. There's probably a lot of people doing that. There may be people doing that in Solana. There may be people doing that in XRP. I'm sure no one wants to hear that, but that may be what's happening. However, that said, I think you need to start looking at charts like this. You know, the twin of the AI altcoin trade, the Arthur Hayes trade, was near. No one is discussing layer ones. No one is discussing speed. No one is discussing anything related to this. This is very clearly a head and shoulders bottom. And this is very clearly a truckload of volume here in near between $1 and $1.60. And I mean, they slammed on this thing for days. They slammed on it for a month. They initially tested it at the end of June. And guess what? Do you realize what happens? I mean, if you take this out, because this is going to be the new TA game, big picture. Small picture, it's going to be alpha intelligence. Big picture, it's like alpha intelligence will give you the entry, and then these charts will give you the risk reward. I mean, you realize that if you broke out of this, which hasn't happened yet, if you broke out of this formation, the upside target in near is $5. And just in case you think that's some huge number, that's where near, that isn't even close. That's where near broke down from back in 2025 in January. It's not like, oh my God, you know, near is going to, you know, it's going to 10X. It's got to be this. No. This stuff is very simply and plainly unwinding the legit disappointment that crypto didn't fulfill the promise that it had at the end of 2024. It was a giant disappointment trade. Oh my God, look at this. You don't think these themes in crypto are real? Like possibly a wealth confiscation event on a political shift? Look at these buy signals in Monero. 3 in a row on a 1-hour chart. And one of them was right down here on a volume point. Volume comes in, it goes up, it comes back down. Now, who was up here selling? I don't know. Bag holders. And it's got work to do. It's got to get through here. But you know what? The point is in Monero, they were down there. They were down there. And another beautiful thing is you want markets to work. You don't want, I know you want to wake up, look at your screen, brush your teeth, take a shower, eat breakfast, and by the time you get down to your car, it's 10x. I know that's what you want, but that's not how it works in a real up move. In a real up move, you're going to get these tactical dips. Again, we know how we find that. You get these tactical dips, and then you wait and let the market work through these resistance points wherever they are. Most of them are tactical. There's, big picture, I don't see anything stopping this market from going materially higher. Nothing. Zero. But you want the market to pause. You want an element, even if people seem wildly bullish, the price action is not wildly bullish. I mean, Bitcoin is at 77K. It's basically unchanged. It's not like, oh my God, it's going up forever. You don't want that initially. You don't. You want disbelief and an orderly move, meaning, you want the market, you want buyers to have to come in slowly, because as people pile in slowly, that whole gradually then suddenly thing kicks in. Not now, but perhaps later. And again, Labor Day this year in the United States, I think, is September 7th. So for anybody who doesn't know what Labor Day is, it's just basically it's the bookend of the summer. So Memorial Day is, you remember war heroes, and you have a picnic and a barbecue in the U.S. That's May. And then in the East Coast, you switch to your summer wardrobe, your white pants, your seersucker sport jacket, things that nobody probably even remembers. Then on Labor Day, the last day of summer, that's when you pack up your summer wardrobe and you go back to work. In the meantime, everybody's at the beach. The last 2 weeks in August and up until Labor Day. And the day before Labor Day, everybody comes off the beach. Everyone packs their stuff away. Everyone gets their stuff and goes back to work and back to school on the East Coast. So they're still on vacation, and they're thinking they're going to go on vacation, and they're not. It's actually going to happen while they're on vacation. It happened in the other direction. It happened in 2008. Everyone was watching the Olympics. Everybody was on vacation. I remember guys talking about hiking in the mountains with staring at their BlackBerry, going, oh my God, what is going on? It's classic. It always happens when people are not paying attention. And this is a double whammy in crypto, because people are not paying attention. They're not paying attention. And they didn't think they would have to. They did not think they would have to. And now they have to. Like, I don't know, let's pull a random example. I mean, if we can move this into a live TA kind of mode, because I don't have anything to do today, but except crypto. Because I ain't going on vacation in August, because I knew this was going to happen. Oh my God. Live streamers are not on vacation. And if they are, that's more, right here. I mean, there was 3 indicators. First, there was a group of buy signals at the bottom. Then, as in DeMark, the market went straight through the sell signals. There were sell signals at, these pink area is, Drew showed me how to make this. This was like volume areas from the past. You had volume from the past, short sellers most likely, met by new volume, covering short, people covering shorts. The sell signals didn't work, and it just ripped. This is another, frankly, Drew, the guy probably hates this, but I'm telling you, these signals, it's like DeMark, these signals work, whether they don't work or they work. If you have a sell signal that doesn't work, it's going up. I've seen this. I've already seen this multiple times. When the sell signals don't work, it's going up. Now, when they do work, when you get these buy signals, you just stay with this. You know, it'll wick down. They'll run the stops. They'll try to push people out because that's what crypto hedge funds are going to do. How are they going to get the liquidity that they need? What are they going to do? They're going to wick this down. They're going to push it. They're going to try to run stops. They're going to scare everybody and use something called the knife experience. Hopefully I can say that on YouTube. So every time this goes down, everyone's going to be like, oh my God. Oh my God, it's happening again. Oh my God, I bought the top. Oh my God, it's wrong. Oh my God, it's going to roll over and go to zero. Well, maybe it does. But you're going to run into Scott Bessent and you're going to run into Warsh too. You're going to run into every central bank and Bessent if they try to hit this thing. And the Fed, I forgot to mention this just to remind you, the Fed wants you out of stocks. They want the mania in stocks to stop. Stop it. Do you realize how far crypto is off its highs? Do you realize that Bitcoin doesn't become embarrassing for the Treasury or the Fed or the administration until it's like, I don't know, 100 wasn't embarrassing. 100 was a party. 100 is like, meh. It was at 100 for a long time. Oh, by the way, let's have a conversation about Bitcoin whales. Now, Bitcoin whales have been accumulating if you looked at on-chain data. But there are a lot of characters that sold and distributed Bitcoin to Sailor. Remember Galaxy Digital processing an $8 billion sell order in Bitcoin? $8 billion. There's a lot of people that dumped Bitcoin at 100. That was a big volume zone there. You know what I'm saying? Just psychologically, huge volume there. What happens when it goes back there? Oh, actually, well, let me rephrase. It is going back there because that's what markets do. They go find these volume areas. Again, you know, that's what this guy Drew is finding at a tactical and a daily chart level. But just psychologically, it's going back to where all that volume traded. And all these characters that got out, some of them, I think, turned around and went from actual crypto to the Bitcoin ETF to I don't know, to reduce the hack risk, especially if they were, you know, billions upon billions. Okay. Maybe a lot of people just got out and maybe they're not back in yet. I know they're not back in yet because of the way it's moving. I mean, you cannot have XRP up 50% if everybody was long and no. XRP is up 50% because everyone was out. Like retail packed it in. Hedge funds were probably short and laughing. And I'm still hoping that ETH is next. Like, you know, if there are charts that I'm watching like a hawk, I am watching like all of these ETH charts. Like I'm going through all the time frames in Alpha Intelligence saying, okay, you know, give me some sugar. Give me a triangle in a box. In anything that you like. But especially in something that can trigger an all-out alt season. In other words, if XRP chills out at $1.50, if it does, then who's next? Is it Sui? I don't know that Sui is better than ETH. I realize that that's not popular, but I think there is a very, very, very big case for an altcoin move that once ETH goes, it all goes. See, and when you look at Sui, right, you can see bag holders exiting. So, I mean, you know, you're miserable. I don't know. You bought Sui at $2. It turns around. Sui goes to 95 cents and you sell. That's what all this is about. Now, should that discourage you? No. Because, I mean, look how Sui melted through all this other prior volume zone. It just melted through. In other words, everyone is still focused, I think, on selling and getting out, when I don't know if they're focused on what you should be getting into, perhaps outside of Zcash. In other words, Zcash is not a one coin market anymore, but the excitement only seems to be about Zcash. And today that sort of flipped, to XRP with the 50% move. Like the XRP army finally came in and said, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Bitcoin will outperform XRP. Bitcoin will outperform all. Bitcoin is 60% from all-time highs. Altcoins are still down 90%. All very true. Oh, forget to share the screen. So you can tell the Eagle King is here. The Eagle King is on vacation. He's okay. Just a weekend. Okay. Here's Chainlink. I'll pull Sui back up. So excited. I forgot to share. Interestingly, with Chainlink, that the buy signal on the dip was the same point where the sell signals were. So this was a huge inflection point in Chainlink at 11. And I think the Alpha Intelligence System has quietly defined an area, even though there's no volume here. This is where they wanted to mix it up at 11. So if Chainlink holds 11, I'm okay with it. And so should you be, because I don't understand how the entire world is going to get connected for AI and have Chainlink not be like an absolute integral part of that. How's that not going to happen? Like all this stuff from 2020, don't laugh. All this DeFi, all this stuff that, was built in 2020 with a promise of the future. Just like in 2018, it was like, yeah, Bitcoin's going to become money. Bitcoin's going to be in an ETF. Now everyone was like, yeah, that's dead. The whole vision of 2018 is dead. No, it's not. The whole vision of 2018 and 2020 is about to unfold. And if just keeping it reasonable, if you have these slow rolling breakouts, in other words, rally, take stuff out, retrace, new sellers come in, take out where the new sellers were in, right? If you have bag holders, get out of this stuff, and there's another leg. Somebody's saying it, where the hell do you think these altcoins are going to be if Bitcoin goes to the 83? That isn't even our radical target anymore. It's boring. Sui is going to go back up here and attack this area. And I don't know. I don't know that Sui is your best coin. A1 Rising is like, take the money. You know what? If you were levered long, if you got in on some of this stuff before it happened, or you bought the news right after Besson came out and you want to take some money, you can do that. Because you know what? If this really is a new bull market, you should be able to buy a dip, and you should be able to take advantage of rotations. So ETH BTC coiling on a 1 hour chart. Notice how all this volume for ETH versus Bitcoin came in right before the spike. Think anybody knew about that Besant comment? I mean, a lot of people don't notice, forget this, but Besant has been quoting Satoshi in posts for a while. I'm going to ETH BTC weekly just to get my Ethereum fixation out of the way. Boom. When the simple stuff works, I mean, look at this huge volume zone. It goes all the way up. It comes all the way back down. This like brutal grinding move. This was a year. They just ground you into sand. And then it's just a breakout It's as clear as day. I don't know if we looked at the 1 hour Zcash chart. We should. So I think during these, like, Steve J, SJ747 reminding you to hit the like button now. Here's another interesting thing about Zcash. Now, I know we talked about Zcash having possibility of upside to 990, and it does. But is it time with higher highs to take some money in Zcash, some of it, and move it into an underperforming area? You know, sell signals didn't matter down here, but I think the news is kind of out, right? So, you know, I don't want to get in front of a gigantic freight train, because you can see that you got a lot of volume and they're mixing it up here. And, you know, if these don't work, it's going to continue to go up. But I'm not opposed to saying, all right, something went up a lot. Let's rotate into the next thing. And, oh, by the way, the next thing, as in the YouTube member area, Patreon Platinum has a big report. Still valid. You know, it's the stuff that we like for AI long term. It's not a big list. You know what I'm saying? We haven't set up our book and our show as necessarily a tactical show. Now, again, we brought the, you know, we definitely got on board once we saw this alpha intelligence stuff to get, just frankly, just to get the dips. You got to get the dips. And then, you know, when you're done with the dips, you've got to get, you know, the exit signals when it's time to rotate. Oh my God, look at this. See, and this is crypto hedge funds right here. Let me show you. Buy signal, buy signal, buy signal, run the stops, rip it the other way. Very tough trade to hang on to, but look at the volume that's coming in Arrow as it goes up, right? There's all this selling up here. You know what? They just turned around and said, hey, you know, blank you, taking it right back up. If of all the charts that we've done today, this could be the most bullish one, because Arrow leads base, base leads ETH. So if you have the base universe start taking off, oh my God, that's where you got to be. That's where you got to be positioned for, dare I say it, a massive rip higher in altcoins. Massive. This is not over. This hasn't even started yet. People don't even know why they're buying. I mean, yeah, they know Besant said something, but it's not like there's a whole lot of money in the system. It's not $85 billion in QE. Nobody knows why they're buying in crypto. Nobody knows. You know, CoinDesk is like started to talk about it, but there was really no new update on their site over the weekend. There's no fresh information about this. You know, most of YouTube is like, oh my God, you know, we're back. Bitcoin is back. Most of them have the president on the thumbnail. Some of them have figured out Besant, but a lot of the early ones had the orange man. I don't know that's engagement, but the people don't understand this. They think it's about the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act helps, but it's not about the Clarity Act. It isn't. I mean, the Clarity Act allows the investment banks to get involved, but the investment banks don't want to get involved, or the investment bank's customers, unless it's moving up and to the right. So Besant made it move up and to the right, and then the Clarity Act will matter, because keep in mind, why does Besant want all of this to work? Why is he quoting Satoshi? Because Besant knows that when you owe $40 trillion, you need a massive stablecoin ecosystem that produces infinite demand for US Treasuries. In other words, how do you print money without printing money? Well, you have stablecoin companies buy treasuries and then turn around and issue stablecoins, right? The stablecoin companies get the debt, and then these stablecoins go flooding out into the market. The treasuries are collateral just to have dollars going into the system. So you get Bitcoin going, you get Visa card and MasterCard doing stablecoins, the stablecoin universe explodes. That's what Besant wants. Now, if he has to get Bitcoin going to get that going, guess what? They're going to get Bitcoin going. There's a circular thing with the Treasury, right? I mean, they can come in and say, all right, well, we owe 40 trillion and we're not going to let you destroy the bond market. They can say that, but that doesn't work forever. What they got to get is they got to get a new buyer of treasuries, because the Japanese aren't doing it. The Chinese aren't doing it. No one's doing it that used to do it. So you got to get a new group of players. What's total crypto market cap? This is another laughable thing that has not been fully discussed. What's total crypto market cap? What is it like? I don't know. 3 trillion? Market's gone straight up. Market's gone straight up. And I bet total crypto market cap is still, it's 2.6 trillion. The value of all of Web3. So get this. I don't know. We got to start calling, we got to stop. Instead of calling it Web3, we should call it AI 1 or AI 2. The total value of crypto assets without Bitcoin, so that's ETH and friends, is 1 trillion. I think Apple's worth 5 trillion. I think obviously Nvidia is. Their earnings are coming out soon. Don't forget. All of altcoins, 757 billion. So if you want to know why XRP is up, it's very simple. It's because altcoins as an asset class are too cheap. Let me say that again. If you want to know why XRP is up, it's because altcoins as an asset class are just too cheap. It's just too cheap. How can you have a phone company worth $5 trillion? They were all scared about hyperscaler debt, and they all ran into Apple. Oh, yeah. This is classic equities, right? Oh, let's buy the $5 trillion asset. All of crypto is worth half of that, 2.6 trillion. That's a joke. Think of it this way. Hyperscalers, according to news reports, need to borrow $1 trillion next quarter to continue doing whatever they're doing. All of crypto minus Bitcoin is worth $1 trillion. What do you want to buy? All of crypto minus Bitcoin, or $1 trillion in hyperscaler debt? Knowing full well, I don't know, that half of those bonds are going to go to zero, because that's how they borrow the money, right? They issue bonds. Someone gives it, you get an IOU, you get a security, and then you give them money. Is all that money going to get paid back to investors? Is everyone in the hyperscaler world going to win? The answer is absolutely not. Some people are going to win huge. Elon's going to go to Mars. Elon's building a data center that's bigger than, it's almost the size of the island in Manhattan. So is Meta. They're building these things are so huge because they don't care, because if they win, they're GOD. If they lose, they're done. But all of that money is not coming back to investors. Whereas if you buy crypto assets for $1 trillion, if you bought the entire cryptocurrency market, yes, all of those digital assets won't make it, but the big ones will. That's the difference between crypto and hyperscaler debt. We know that AI is going to be on Solana. We know that, you need minor tweaks to Solana, Ethereum, and XRP to bring them into the AI age fully. minor tweaks before those assets become absolutely monstrous. Like we were talking in 2024, we were saying, what happens if XRP is worth $1 trillion? Now, I know that no one wants to talk about that today, but what if all these major crypto assets were worth $1 trillion? Because why wouldn't they be? What's $1 trillion? I mean, Uncle Sugar's debt went from 38 to 39 to 40 like that. It took a couple of quarters. I don't even think it took, less than that. $1 trillion doesn't mean anything anymore. So if $1 trillion is cheap, why are we not buying digital assets at $1 trillion? Why is everybody telling me that when you do research, right? When you do research, finding the digital assets that will literally be used by AI and go parabolic, why would you not put research together with tactical location to absolutely get involved in this like it was your job? Because you know what? Raoul Paul's right. You want a job? Go listen to our podcast and then spend an hour a day figuring out something like alpha intelligence so you can get the tactical dips. That's your job. Your 9 to 5 is probably going to be done by a robot in less than 10 years. But how do you prepare yourself for any odd eventualities? Well, I've already outlined that. And when do you do it? It's now. Now. Because, I mean, I read something over the weekend about Hyperliquid. Let's put that chart up. You know, there was a time where the U.S. government was trying to run all of these platforms off the planet. BitMEX, Arthur Hayes' firm that invented the perpetual contract, is closing this week as the Orange Man is trying to bring perpetuals to the United States. Because why is everybody doing all this trading overseas when they should be doing it here? So we've gone full circle as BitMEX shuts down. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, look at this. Look at this volume that came in on Hyperliquid. Look at these signals right before the Orange Man comes in and lets loose. You got the absolute low. And then this huge volume comes in, just explodes. They wick it down, and there's another signal, and then it just starts grinding higher. I mean, nothing outperforms forever. You know, it's like one of the ways you know that this is real, you know, to keep the bluster to a minimum, because people need to do their own work. One of the ways you know that this is real is if you go from things like, you've already gone from Hyperliquid and Zcash in a way over to XRP. That was like the first wave. Like it was Zcash, and then it was XRP, like, I don't know, 20 hours later. And the question is, what's the next thing it leaks into? Is it going to leak into Solana? Is it going to leak into Aave? Well, Steve J will tell you that that's what's going to happen. And I kind of agree. And we have a ton of DeFi picks. You know where. You know where. Right? We're all over it. Okay. So let's welcome who's here. I have no idea how long I've been talking. Normally the Eagle King keeps me honest on this like stream of consciousness stuff, but you know, he's chilling today. Bless his heart. Okay. And I'm so glad that whatever issue we had, I want to thank Toby and everybody for helping me get this stream online with all these odd computer issues going on in Austin, if that's what it is. Misfit Capital, Bull Runner. We can't see you yet. Hopefully you can. Zepedas, welcome. All right. Bull Runner saying he can see us. Shelly Farmer Allen at One Woman Hedge Fund. Relief rally, suckers rally, bear market rally, bull trap, whichever technical words you like to call it. It will be sold off again and go lower as low, if not lower. Let's put that up. Because, one thing we do on the show is that we do want to acknowledge the opposite point of view. Felix says the bear market aged Bill by 20 years. Okay, well, yeah. there was some wear and tear from this one, but we were not strategically or intellectually ready for a 9-month grinding correction. Although after the Orange Man's meme coin, on a more funny front, I am trying to figure out what to do with this beard. I am trying to figure out, AI is starting to draw me like I'm 90 years old when it looks at a picture. So I might have to do something, a regular salt and pepper kind of professional reboot is on the table, as well as something like more wild, like a tricolored McAfee look. Feel free to leave a comment if you have a suggestion, which could include standing down and not doing anything midlife crisis-ish. But yeah, this could be something that fades. And if it does, fine. Because it's not a bull market until you can buy a dip and make money. Anybody can ride a spike. But if Bitcoin sits at 77, or there are dips like we've been showing, if you can buy the dip and the initial wave of sellers, if it goes through those areas, that's how you know. And if you missed it, just watch the tactical stuff. That's why I'm using it. Because otherwise I'm like, well, how do you know? You don't need to wait for confirmation on the upside. You need to wait for confirmation to see if anybody's there to buy the dip. Because if this guy's right, there won't be anybody there to buy the dip. The hedge funds will walk away. They'll use it to get out of their bags. And they'll just say, forget about it. We'll see you in September. I'm not doing this. Which I'm sure the bears are doing. I'm sure that's exactly what they're going to say. They're going to wait for this to stop going up. And they're going to say, get out. This is what makes a market. I'm like, okay, let them hit it. Let them hit it. And if the buy signals on Alpha Intelligence work, you can bet I am going to be on this tape screaming into this camera about what is happening here. Because I got Scott Bessent on my side, and nobody has ever made any money fading the printing press. Just saying. One guy's like, based on what information are people going to sell? You never know. NASDAQ is still out there. I'm saying. UFO is here. Institutions are not buying into something that will make retail wealthy rich. Unless some institutions buy it and start outperforming and start embarrassing other institutions. So if institution A buys it and makes money and institution B underperforms, the people running institution B get fired. This is why you have monkey see, monkey do on Wall Street. They FOMO'd into the chip stocks. That's why there was the FOMO, because anybody who didn't own it was fired. Now it could be crypto. We'll wait and see. Crypto Princess, one of the top analysts out there, if not the best analyst this year, as far as I'm concerned. Right? Samstrom is here. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Princess always decorates us up with some good emojis, and the Bill Noble Lego emoji is still on the drawing board. We need to get this bull market going. So, our R&D department can spend more time on R&D. Tesco, not buying bonds. No, I'm not. The opposite view is disbelief. Cassius Clay says, trim the beard and you'll be fine. Excellent. See, everyone's got the not investment advice, not beard advice. that they needed from this stream this morning. John 316 is here, right? Roto Rootage. Love that. Roto Rootage. You got some people getting roto rootaged on this market. You had the shorts. They did it to the longs for 9 months. Then they did it to the shorts. And I don't know if they're going to do it to anybody who FOMO's in now. I don't know. You know, all I know is I want to find a triangle in a box. And what I'm trying to tell you is that's why. Because if triangles in boxes work on dips, it's on. It's on. Like, how much money are you going to spend on that to get a little bit of an edge, to get some confidence that this is real? Think about that. Like, there's a huge psychological element to 1 hour charts. Like, you know, when we were like Wall Street professionals, we would watch these short-term charts, 30-minute stuff, market profile with letters. Nobody knows what that is. We used to watch tactical stuff. And then if you watch the tactical stuff at the right big picture moment, then you'll know. You'll see the footprint. All right, enough. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the market update for today. Continue to watch. Continue to do your homework. Continue to be a Spartan. Don't lose hope. You missed it. You're losing. You're winning. Whatever this is, it's just starting. Even if it goes down before it goes up, Scott Bessent has told you, stay involved, stay with us. We'll see you soon.